Hi, everybody. Joe Chaffee here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. Coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, we've got a week where a southwest flow is going to bring up tropical air, and we're going to have rounds of rain to deal with. Doesn't rain all the time, but it will be raining some of the time, and we'll be talking about that, the tropics, and everything else tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, and that's at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Actually, the weather across the country is rather quiet. We're sort of in this lull mode with not much in the way of watches and warnings, and not much in the way of heat, except for parts of the West and parts of South Florida. And we've got some flooding issues in much of New Mexico into southeastern Colorado. Otherwise, it's a fairly ordinary day, an ordinary Sunday. And as we look at the satellite loop this morning, we're seeing some thunderstorms off the Carolina coast and offshore. We're also seeing some scattered thunderstorms and downpours in parts of the south, back over into Oklahoma, and also up in the northern plains. But again, on the whole, it is fairly quiet, and the radar is also on the quiet side. You can see the showers that are offshore, the showers and storms in Oklahoma, and the few downpours that we have across the south. And of course, what's been happening the last couple of days is that the areas of showers and some thunderstorms have been increasing across the south and southeast as the day wears on. Some areas are getting some much needed rain. If you haven't gotten any there, you probably will at some point. And here in the northeast and northern mid Atlantic states, where we had a little bit of rain move through parts of Virginia and Delaware and even into New Jersey yesterday afternoon and evening, that is now all offshore. And we really don't expect much in the way of issues today. The Storm Prediction Center also in kind of a quiet mode, marginal risks in southeastern Colorado and into Mexico, also into the southern half of Arizona. You'll notice that the northeast down into the northern mid Atlantic states and in a sliver that runs across the Ohio Valley and back in parts of Kansas. Not showing any thunderstorm activity today, just general thunderstorms in the southeast. And actually, from the standpoint of severe weather, no severe weather is forecast over the next couple of days. I think the bigger story, though, is going to be the rainfall because it is going to be quite heavy in spots over the next 7 days. The areas in the Northeast are in the range of, let's say, 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter. You get down to southern New Jersey and then draw a line from there southwestward, cutting across West Virginia and Tennessee, then down into southern Arkansas, and then across north central Texas. From there, south and east we're seeing areas that are going to see 3 to maybe as much as 5 inches of rain over the next 7 days. Also, note that in this time of year, you get into a heavier downpour. You could certainly wind up with more than what's being forecast in local areas. Wouldn't be surprised if some areas get double some of the forecast amounts. Also, seeing rains of up to a couple of inches, additional inches in parts of New Mexico and Arizona and in the southwest. Much of the west coast is going to be on the quiet side. So, flash flooding an issue today in western North Carolina, northernmost South Carolina. We have a marginal risk for flash flooding from southern Virginia down through the southeast and across the Gulf states, back through Texas, and then it picks up again when you get into Mexico and Arizona. Moving on to day two, that area pretty much stays the same. And as we head into day three, we see that marginal risk that pushes up into the mid Atlantic and into the Northeast with a slight risk being a 15 to 40% chance. A marginal risk is a 5 to 15% chance that there could be some flash flooding. So, this is going to be a week where we see a series of waves of low pressure that'll be moving along. Again, all of this is due to the fact that we've got the Bermuda High, and I'm just going to switch over to the upper air to show you what's going on. The Bermuda High is suppressed somewhat to the south, and we've got a southwest flow that's going to start to develop and as we move into next week. There's an upper low back in Illinois and Missouri, and you start to see that Bermuda High kind of pushing into the southeastern states. So it creates this southwest flow, and then you get these little ripples of low pressure that move along in the flow. They're kind of hard to see, little indentations there in that southwest flow, and as each one comes by, we wind up with waves of rain. Now, eventually, as we head toward the end of the week, the flow in the Northeast will turn more west and northwest, and that will allow for some drying to occur. So that'll be good news, but you'll have to wait for the end of the week for that to happen. And also through all of this, we won't be seeing any kind of extreme heat, but it will be very warm as temperatures will be in the 80s much of the time during the day, depending on whether it's raining or not. And the humidity levels obviously are going to be very high beginning tomorrow. But at least today, it's not terrible. We'll have, I think, no worse than partly sunny skies. Not forecasting any rain for today, with temperatures into the 80s. Monday, we'll probably see temperatures in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. It'll be the warmest day of the week from the from our view here. And you see these waves that start to come up with some shower and thunderstorm chances late in the day, Monday and Monday night. We'll get a break probably for a little while on Tuesday, and then we'll do another wave Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then that goes by, and then a third wave probably comes up for Thursday until a cold front pushes on through, and then we start to see improving weather conditions as we head toward next weekend, which right now looks to be a very warm and somewhat humid weekend, but the precipitation waves will be stopping. So, tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, we'll check all of this out and we'll take a look at the weather for the week ahead. That's at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great Sunday.